And a welcome here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. We appreciate you being here every Monday through Friday between 9 a.m. and 11 a.m. Eastern Time here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Great Lakes Honda City studios. You are with us on YouTube.com and Facebook.com/Wake Up Call DT and on wakeupcalldt.podbean.com. So however you're tuning in up and down the East Coast, the Midwest, the West Coast, we thank you for being here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. And as I said, inside the Great Lakes Honda City studios, Great Lakes Honda City, our exclusive studio partner. You can find them by going to 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York for sales and service Monday through Saturday, and to take a look at their vast array of vehicles for any family, from the Honda Civic to the Accord to the Pilot to my favorite, the CRV, the HRV, the Ridgeline, and more. You can find new and used vehicles in their inventory by going to GreatLakesHondaCity.com. So make sure that you do that here this morning and let them know that DT sent you. Appreciate you all, as I said, for being with us on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Two incredible conversations come up to you this morning, and then we'll round it out with the ingredients to success to reflect on an incredible defensive unit inside of the NFL's title game. So we're going to start the show off inside of MonPosPopcorn.com's What's Poppin' by speaking with the incredibly talented and hardworking, dedicated coach at Army West Point, that being the Black Knights head football coach, Mr. Jeff Monken. That extensive one-on-one conversation covers so many topics that you're going to have to sit in and unpack them all with us in this wonderful conversation that you won't find anywhere else quite like this with Jeff Monken, following the historic 12-win season, most wins ever for Army West Point within one single season. We have a lot of stuff to talk with Coach about, including Bryson Daly, the play of the team, the cadets themselves, representing the United States Army, representation in the NFL title game with the Eagles and the Chiefs having Army football alumni, and more, including that Army-Navy game in our nation's capital. So Jeff Monken, my special with him, is going to air first this morning in hour number 1, and in hour number 2, as you always know here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, in hour 2 on Tuesdays at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, we feature the Bearcat Time. And in this edition of the Bearcat Breakroom, I will have Paul Caceres joining me once again, the Binghamton Bearcats women's tennis head coach. He got hired in July of 2024. Him and I spoke right after that hiring, and now he is in his first ever season as the head coach of the Binghamton Bearcats women's tennis team, and just got his first historic victory with this Binghamton team over RIT 6-1 on the road. So we'll hear from Paul Caceres in hour number 2, and we'll round the show out with the ingredients to success, proudly presented by the wonderful team at Avicolli's. Grandma's Pie, so very good. Had it on the NFL title game Sunday, and also had a little bit of leftovers yesterday, and I still have some leftovers. So enjoying Grandma's Pie and all the great things that Avicolli's has on 7839 Oswego Road in Liverpool, New York, right down the street from Liverpool High School. We will be talking and celebrating the entire Philadelphia Eagles defense in this edition of the Ingredients to Success. So that's all coming up here this morning after this fast break on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Stay with us.
Hi, this is Amy from Mother's Cupboard, home of the whole frittata. We are open daily 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. For takeout orders, call 315-432-0942 and tune in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora for our monthly food challenge, and try our Wake Up Call signature menu item, available 7 days a week. Here at Mother's Cupboard, we are Central New York, and it's our honor to serve you.
Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory remind us that every day is worth celebrating at 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. Open Monday through Saturday in-store and always online at maandpaspopcorn.com. Serving our Central New York community and beyond, order anywhere, anytime at maandpaspopcorn.com. Stop in to get a tin at Ma and Pa's on 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York to get your half-price refills for the rest of your life. Come to Ma and Pa's for your holiday gift giving for family, friends, employees, and clients. And remember, for fundraising and events, to call 315-450-6272. That's 315-450-6272. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. How corny are you?
This is Jimmer Sikowski, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, right in front of the Home Depot. I had a deep feeling that God wanted me to do something bigger with my life and to help people, help others. He kept putting Chick-fil-A in my life, and I realized as I was going through the franchise selection process that positively impacting the lives of others was really core to what we do here at Chick-fil-A. First of all, it starts with the food. The food is brought in fresh daily. We bring in local produce. We prepare to order in the kitchen. We hand bread our chicken. We hand spin our milkshakes. It's great food. It doesn't taste like fast food. I think the second thing is the way people feel when they come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. It's different. We try to treat people with intentional kindness here, which is very different and deeper than good customer service. And so I think it feels remarkable for most people to come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then lastly, the impact that we try to have in the community is very different. It's a big part of the expectation of every operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant is that they're actively engaged in their community, they're a leader in the community, and they're making a difference. When they realize that what we're striving to do is to shine a little light in their life, that's a very, very different experience than you will have in any other quick service restaurant. And it's that remarkable experience that I think people will emotionally connect with.
And a welcome here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, coming off of this fast break inside of the Great Lakes Honda City Studios. I am picture in picture with Jeff Monken, the head coach of the Army Black Knights, reflecting on the 2024-25 season and moving forward. Coach, as always, it's my honor and my privilege. And I told you a little while back here when we were going into this season at the AAC kickoff that I had been waiting a while and that you and I both have a mutual friend in Bob Beretta. And it had been a long time that I wanted to sit down and shake your hand and thank you for the work that you're doing at Army. So once again, welcome back to Wake Up Call.
Oh, I'm thrilled for the opportunity. I'm glad to see you again and fun to talk about our friend Bob Beretta. I think he's just an awesome guy and really proud of what he's doing.
Yeah, put a lot of work in, spent over 3 decades at Army West Point, and we know that, when you talk about leadership and Bob being a piece of that, we know that Mike Buddy, who was overseeing the athletic department, has moved on from here. What was your relationship like with Mike Buddy, and just what you could say about maybe the legacy that he leaves, because you spent ample time with the Army Black Knights and obviously spent a lot of time with Mike Buddy.
Mike's an incredible guy. I was here almost 6 years and just a tremendous AD. I think all of our coaches here would agree. Just what a great AD he was. 4 coaches and 2 coaches, very supportive. And I mean, just his presence, being at practice, being at games, and I can't say enough for the relationship that I had with him. Really valued that, and so we wish him well. I'm excited for the opportunity he has at TCU. Mike's got a great family, his wife Tracy, and I know they're excited about this new opportunity. But he really became part of the West Point community and made a tremendous impact on our program here. Obviously, the completion of this project here at the stadium, the $170 million renovation, which isn't complete yet, it won't be done while he's here, but certainly wouldn't have been done had he not put the effort in. So his legacy will last for decades and perhaps even centuries here with that project.
And when you look at that, like you said, $170 million renovation project to the stadium, just what you've seen in your time at Army West Point of the just emphasis on building up the facilities, doing necessary things to advance and
and obviously progress what you're doing. I mean, we know that the United States Army is serving our military. There is a bigger job, a bigger task at hand for these student athletes who are also members of service, and that comes first. But we also know that Army West Point, you're competing collegiately in so many different sports. You being the head football coach, what can you say to the balance of being such a unique institution and at the same time seeing the leadership at Army West Point give to athletics and make sure that you have the facilities you need, you have the resources that you need to continue to build your program?
Certainly, we get support from our academy and from the government, but just in terms of our operating budget, our facilities, and the projects that we do, most of that money, and for some of those projects, 100% of that money is privately funded. And so it's money that has to be raised. It's not taxpayer dollars that are building a new stadium here. That's all on the generosity of our donors, many of our former players, people that love West Point. And we did a practice field here a few years back, Goldstein Field, which right here at our facility, we had a turf field. We have a beautiful indoor facility, the Foley Center, that was much in part to the generosity of Bill Foley, who is also the president of or the owner of the Las Vegas Golden Knights NHL hockey team. Is a just one of our tremendous graduates, and really proud to have that facility. But what we lacked was the outdoor space. We had a grass field that was kind of like the surface of the moon, and so through the generosity of the Goldstein family, the Lichtenberg family, we were able to build Goldstein Field, and now we have 2 full practice fields there along with our indoor facility. So, projects like that really is the generosity of so many of our folks that love West Point. A lot of them alumni, and some that aren't, and so we're able to move the program forward and build the facilities that make this an elite sports program, along with one of the best academic institutions in the world.
You made mention of the Las Vegas Golden Knights, and obviously that connection and the give back from somebody who calls Army West Point home. I'm not surprised now, because you get attracted to the Army Black Knight logo, and then you look at the Las Vegas Golden Knight logo, and there's some similarities there. So are you willing to admit that you're a Golden Knight fan, since they look so much like West Point? Can we say that, or no?
Oh, I'll always cheer for Mr. Foley's team, just as I do Mr. Viola's team, the Florida Panthers, both proud graduates. The trouble being they played each other in the Stanley Cup each of the last 2 years, and it's hard to cheer for one to beat the other. But we were cheering for both of them, and we're really excited to see that each of them won a Stanley Cup in the last 2 years. So that, really incredible to see West Point graduates at the very top of their industries, and certainly in professional sports.
And I definitely want to unpack football, and we will, but I want to stick with this for a second. When we speak on alumni, when you look at the just vast culture and this ever-growing family of the Army Black Knights, when you see this, like you said, you're cheering for this alum here and this other alum here, and at the tops of their industry and whatnot, to kind of showcase that and spotlight that a little bit more, even beyond football, that the alumni base of Army West Point and just what that means to you, and just what we can say about that this isn't just a family that spent time together on a campus. This is a family that has gone out into the world and been successful, because I don't think we talk about enough of these stories. We talk about a game in the moment at the time, but what is this person doing 20 years from then, 10 years from then, 30 years from then? And you just mentioned a couple, just what the alumni base has meant to you, the hands that you've shaken, the conversations you've had, and just what you can say about this greater family and the success of getting an education at Army West Point.
You can reach into just about any industry and find elite leaders that are West Point graduates as part of that industry. And whether it's, as we said, professional sports, and we actually have two of our graduates that are playing in the Super Bowl this weekend. Really excited about that. Brett Toth playing for the Eagles and Cole Christensen with the Kansas City Chiefs, already a two-time Super Bowl winner. So that's really incredible for us. But to see graduates who have risen to the highest levels of public service as president of the United States, as state governors. Our history books are littered with generals and military leaders that have changed the history of the world. Astronauts in the NASA space program, Fortune 500 CEOs, you name it, West Point's got it. And so it's just incredible to see that list of people and to be able to share in that pride. And it is a source of pride for us as an institution, and it's a source of pride for our football program to be able to tell people and tell others that are considering West Point about our graduates and the things that they do, and the fact that they rise to the highest levels of leadership in industries, even outside of the military.
And you mentioned here with Jeff Monken, the head coach of the Army Black Knights football program, you had made mention of the fact that in the nation's highest form of football, in this big game championship, Philadelphia Eagles and the Kansas City Chiefs, that on both sides of this, no matter who wins, Army's going to win because there's an alum there. I love putting emphasis here and a spotlight here because the military, I mean, the amount of service that you have to give and the things that you have to do, but there's this notion that I can't stand, I'm sure you can't either, of that the military academies can't compete with the big boys, so to speak. They can't hang here. They're not going to make it to the NFL. They're not going to do this and that. And obviously that's been refuted. And when we look at the championship and the fact that the Lombardi Trophy is on the line and somebody from Army is going to be hoisting that and the other person is going to be a runner-up of 32 NFL franchises, what can you say about the level of competition, the level of student-athlete, and what it means to you to know that no matter whoever wins the NFL championship this season, Army will be well represented with both of those teams, the Philadelphia Eagles and the Kansas City Chiefs?
Both of those guys are in great company, elite company, just to be in the National Football League. Those are the best football players in the world, and it is incredibly competitive just to make a team. So I'm really proud of those guys, and it'll be fun to watch the game and to know that those guys are a part of that great game, which will be viewed by more people around the world than any football game this entire year. So pretty awesome for those guys. I think here we're not in the same conversations with the biggest schools for 4 and 5 star prospects. It's just not that we wouldn't like to recruit those guys, and not that we don't make an effort, but frankly, it just when it all shakes out, that we're not in the conversation with those guys. So our players are developmental. We take players that perhaps get looked over or passed over now more than ever with the changing landscape of recruiting in college football. There are prospects out there that we take as high school players and we bring in here and truly just have to develop them. And both of those guys, Brett Toth and Cole Christensen, were both good high school players, but they were developmental guys, just as their teammates and members of this brotherhood like Elijah Riley and John Radigan and Andre Carter, who were all on NFL rosters. Those guys were developmental. So we work really, really hard with our guys to try to maximize who they can be. And I think that's what West Point does better than anything. They take these young men and women that come to school here who are incredible leaders in their communities and in their schools, but something happens to them here, just the development that happens as leaders that turns them into elite world-class leaders. And so that's what this academy and our football program and the 47-month experience is all about, is to maximize who these young people can be and to develop leaders of character to serve our nation.
And Jeff, when you hear that, like you said, in the not that you don't want to be in the conversations with the top athletes that are coming into college football from high school or prep school, wherever it may be, when you hear military academies, armies not going to bring the toughest players, there's not a lot of strength, they're not tough enough, they're not talented enough. I don't believe in that, but I'd love for you to speak to it because you're in it every single day. When you hear they can't push guys around, they're not tough, they don't have the stature, they don't have the ability, I'd love to get rid of that. And I'd love for it to come from somebody who lives in that world every single day, because I don't see an Army team that doesn't have strength, doesn't have toughness, doesn't have talent, doesn't have ability, doesn't set records, and doesn't challenge teams from all over the country. You're in the American for the first time ever and you won it. So when you hear there's something lacking in Army, what is your reaction to that?
Well, I don't know that anybody would argue that our guys aren't tough enough. We got some tough guys on our team, and most people would acknowledge that. In terms of the talent level, I think that's where we'd probably get some argument, and you'd frankly probably get some argument from me. I don't know that we're more talented than other teams that we play, but we're not void of talent. We got some talented players on our team, but all our guys are developmental. They come in and they need to grow and get stronger and improve their fundamentals and maximize who they can be as individuals for us to really get all we can out of our team as a unit. The most talented players don't win the games. The best teams win the games. Now, if a team is incredibly talented and they're a great team that plays together, they're going to be really, really difficult to beat. And as we watched the playoffs this year, that was the case. Those were all very talented football teams that played really well together as a team, and they were tough to beat all year. And there were some really competitive, great games in the playoffs, and it's fun to watch football at that level. What our guys, I think, are really a prime example of is that good people, hardworking people, people that have pride and play for something bigger than themselves, can collectively do some pretty special things. And that's really what we strive to be. We strive to be a tough team, a team that plays well together, plays good, sound, fundamental football. And then we try to maximize our guys physically through our strength and conditioning program. It's a training program. Our strength staff does a terrific job. Our offensive line, though, we weren't the tallest, longest group of guys, even amongst the teams we played this year, and certainly not in college football. We were a strong offensive line. Our guys could move. Defensive linemen could move the line of scrimmage, and did that really well against a lot of, I think, really talented and good players and good teams this year. So, I'm proud of what our guys do to develop themselves and to maximize who they can be. I think there's a great sense of pride in each of them that they want to help their teammates. They want to contribute to the brotherhood and do all that they can as individuals to make our team the very best. We have a very unselfish group of guys that are fully committed to the team. And I think that's what we did this year and what we've been able to do on a fairly consistent basis. I think it speaks to just the fact that when guys are playing together as a team, they're capable of doing things that are maybe beyond what they could do as just an individual.
Yeah. And like you said, I mean, you can have the most talent, but if you don't have that togetherness and you don't have that unity, we've seen a lot of teams take that talent and not do as much with it as people that may not have that respect of talent, but were able to put it together there was so many amazing things that happened this season. You said something to me off the air, and we'll get to that in a second when you talked about the most important game. Outside of that Army-Navy game, though, you only had one loss. You won the American Athletic Conference. The only loss that you endured before Army-Navy was to Notre Dame, who played for a national championship this year. I took the stance, much to the arguments coming back my way, that Army had earned the right to be in the college football playoff, had an 11-1 record at the time, had gone up against good competition, pushed around a Tulane team that I respect very much so, which has remnants of a team that beat USC within the last couple of years in the Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic. 11-1 conference champion, one of the best quarterbacks in the country, and a quarterback that was leading the nation and setting records for rushing touchdowns in a season in Bryson Daly. I would love to get your thoughts, and I know that hindsight is 20/20, and I know we can't change it, and the College Football Playoff Committee makes these decisions. But in your opinion, based on the body of work that you did, should Army have had the opportunity, win or lose, to at least represent itself in an expanded playoff?
Number one, I think everybody would say after we lost the Army-Navy game that they all got it right, that we didn't belong there, and certainly that the way we played in that game and how they beat us, and they did a great job. They played a really good football game and beat us. We probably didn't belong in the playoff, but up until that point, we had a good year. Obviously, lost to a great Notre Dame team. I thought that team was really well coached. Number one, very talented, but a complete team, offense, defense, special teams. And they played like it against us. I mean, they just beat the pants off of us. And had we been able to play more competitively in that game, certainly had we won that game, I think we would have been in the conversation. But even to play more competitively in that game, I think might have given us a platform to at least for people to have an argument. And I don't have a vote on that. That's and I didn't lobby for that or talk about that during the season. I felt like we were playing well enough to at least be in consideration. But I also look at the one team that, there's going to be one group of five team that makes it. And Boise had lost to what at the time was the number one team in the country, Oregon, by 3 points in the opening game. And had one of the best players in college football, a Heisman Trophy finalist, and they had as good an argument as anybody. So, it's very difficult when there's only one team from the group of five that's going to make it. I think the conversation starts to circle around one team. And at one point, we were the highest ranked group of five team. But after losing to Notre Dame, we lost that spot. And I understand it. But it would have been really incredible to have had that opportunity, and certainly would have been exciting for our players, for our school, and our program. But you got to win, and that's the bottom line. You got to win the games that are on the schedule that they give you, and we didn't win all of them, and so we didn't. I don't think we had an argument there. We couldn't. I couldn't, and I wouldn't have felt like I could argue for us to be in the game after losing, so or be in the playoff after losing. So anyway, Notre Dame's a great team. Unfortunately, they happen to have one of the best teams they've had in many years, and we were right there on the schedule in November and had to face them. But that ended the great run that we had going. But I was really proud of our guys and how they responded in the weeks to follow, with beating UTSA to secure a home field advantage for the championship game, and then beating Tulane in the championship. Those were two great football games to finish the regular season in the championship.
And Jeff, like I said, you said off the air, and every conversation that we've ever had, no matter what week it is, if it's before the season, during the season, after the season, it's go Army, beat Navy from you. So you said, yeah, we had a good season, but we lost the only game, the most important game, is what you said going into it. It was my first experience of being at an Army Navy game. And I want to thank Eric and your team and all the work that they did. I want to thank the welcoming with open arms. I love that I got to go back to D.C. and then be at Landover, Maryland, inside of the home of the Washington Commanders. It was an incredible event. And where I was in the press box, I had the cadets right in front of me, a sea of them, and just experiencing them the entire time. And if Army did something good, they're cheering. If Army was struggling and having a moment of adversity, they were cheering. It was something important to me because I'm a grandson of World War II veterans of the Air Force as well as the Army and the Navy, and being so a grandson and a grandnephew, I should say, and my mom's dad in the Navy, my dad's dad in the Army. So having the cadets right in front of me, seeing that, the videos that I was able to share, the pictures I was able to share, I know that on the field the game wasn't won by Army, but to me, being there and experiencing a game that I have cared about and watched and has been around kind of my Christmas festivities over the years with my parents really meant the world to me. I'd love to go into that game with you and your takeaways because we didn't get to talk immediately after, and also just what it means to you to look into the stands and to see these men and women. And I mean, to me, it was surreal. I didn't have words. It touched my heart. It's emotional. Everything that goes into it, the opening, just all of the different pieces to celebrate the United States Army before the game even happens. Just what you can say to that, and to the fact that in most cases since Teddy Roosevelt, we have typically seen a president there, or, in this case this year, a president-elect. So just what all of this game means in the sense of the cadets, of the representation of the President of the United States or President-elect, and just everything that goes into honoring our men and women today, tomorrow, and always, because I felt that and the gravity of that beyond the game.
It's a big game, and folks that go there without any skin in the game, not cheering for one team or the other, they think it's the greatest thing in the world. And certainly those fans that attend that are cheering for one of the teams, if they're cheering for the one that got the victory, they're happy, and those that weren't, it's devastating. So there's certainly a mix of folks there in the stadium, and it's an incredible game. The intensity of that football game, it's unmatched in my opinion in any other game, and the emotional investment that the competitors make into that game is incredible, and it's the same on both sides, and certainly disappointing to lose the game. That, like I said, they beat us, and I wish we could have found a way to make more plays and to beat them, and we just didn't do it. And it's the one game you gotta win every year, and we didn't do it. So hopefully next December we'll find a way to play our best and give ourselves a chance. But the stadium, the Army Navy game is just so different than perhaps any other game. It's split almost even between the two teams. So there's one team's wearing dark uniforms, the other team's wearing light uniforms, but there's no home or away team. It is a stadium that's almost split 50-50, and that makes it really unique. The stadium and the fans and all the other things that are going on surrounding the game, it's really hard to kind of see all that stuff, realize all that's going on. Our entire focus as a team becomes what's happening out there on the grass and between the lines, and it is such an intense game. You just feel like every play, the game is hanging in the balance. So there are times where you just notice the crowd, and I notice the Corps of Cadets, and they never cheer louder than they do at that game there. It's a source of pride for them as well, and a big game for them. I know that grads of West Point always talk about their records against Navy, and that's something that they carry with them for a lifetime and take great pride in. So it's our responsibility, our obligation to try to represent all of them well, and to try to win that game, along with the men and women that serve in the United States Army and all those that have served in the United States Army, the families that are represented by our soldiers. There's an obligation and a sense of responsibility that we have to them as well. So it makes it a big game, and there often are some VIPs that are there. We don't always have touch points with those people, but the president has been there a couple of times, president-elect a couple of times, and on more than one occasion we've had a chance to meet those folks, and it's pretty special. It's pretty neat for our players to have people like that on the sideline or in the locker room with us.
Jeff Monken here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Great Lakes Honda City Studios. Jeff, before I let you go here, a few points that I think are extremely important. One of them is your personality and your demeanor. Did it develop over time? Who you talked about on the sidelines, the type of coach that you are, how has that developed? Has it always been the same? Are you what's kind of going through the mind? Because I like to learn the personality of the coach. And I have always seen you. I mean, this is how I envision it, and this might make you laugh. It might make you smile. I don't know. But when I see you, Jeff, I see like a general. I don't see somebody who's coaching at Army West Point. I see someone who is acting in such a way of like, we're going to battle. We're going to battle. We have a task at hand. We have things that we have to take care of. I see a serious kind of stone-faced demeanor, but behind all of that, what is the personality of you, and how would you describe yourself as a coach up and down that sideline, and how you kind of feel the game and go with the ebb and flow of the game?
Well, if anybody saw my math grades from when I was in school, they'd never give me any general stars. So
Okay.
that's way above what I'm capable of. I'm just trying to do the best I can for our team, and we're all different. I'm sure that, if you went into any industry, there's difference between leaders and leadership styles in every industry. There certainly is in college football. I just be myself. I don't know how I'd necessarily describe myself. I think others probably do a better job of that. Guys that have played for us and been in our program probably do a better job of that. But I love to compete. I consider myself a fierce competitor. Really have a difficult time with defeat. I love to win, but really hate to lose. I've got a job to do on that sideline, and it's to help our team win, help our staff do the things that they need to make the decisions that we need to make as a coaching staff to give our players the best chance to win. Some of those decisions are just mine that I have to make, and only the head coach can make, and those are the ones that I really probably agonize over more than anything, especially when I don't make the right decision and it costs us. That probably hurts worse than anything. But I love the energy and the excitement and the passion of college football, and I really feel that energy and that passion and that excitement when I'm on the sidelines on Saturday. I get into the game, and I really probably celebrate the good things, and get fired up on the things that don't go so well, a little more animated than others. But that's just who I am. It's just my personality, and my job is to help our team win, and to not let emotion get in the way of decisions, and to not allow the the other things that are going on in the game affect my ability to manage the game and manage our team and our coaching staff. So I'm trying to do the best I can. Doesn't always work, but fortunately we got a good staff and we got a good bunch of guys on our team that are well prepared, and they usually overcome their coaching.
Well, and this season, to extend out, you mentioned your staff. You and your staff with these student athletes put together the most wins in a single season for the Army Black Knights ever with 12. And you did that in a bowl game, getting the 12th, when we found out in the press box going into the Army-Navy game that Marshall had pulled out of that game, and then eventually Louisiana Tech took their place. So to look to your staff, to look to your student athletes, to look to the greater sideline that is Army on a historic season of 12 wins, just what that means to you as you look at your staff and as you look at your student athletes, to this specific group and to the leadership that you have. Like you said, your job is to manage and to make some decisions that only you can make, but you also work with other people that within their places are making decisions and trying to create opportunities for success, offense, defense, and special teams. So what can you say to the staff and the student athletes on a season where Army celebrates more wins in a single season than ever before?
We have a great staff. We've got a great bunch of coaches. They're knowledgeable. They're great fundamental teachers. They love our players, and they are really invested in the young men that are in our program as people. And I think that's what makes them most effective. Our players trust in them, and they trust our coaches. They believe in them, and our coaches work really hard to prepare our players so that not only schematically are they understand our schemes offensively, defensively, on the special teams, but that they are fundamentally sound, that we block and tackle and take care of the ball and do all the things that are important from an individual standpoint to maximize who they can be. Our players practice hard, they work hard. Our off-season workouts are as intense and as focused as any place I've ever seen guys train in the off-season. They come in every day with a purpose and a passion. They don't go through the motions. They push each other. They demand a lot of themselves, and they demand a lot of each other. And I think all of those things collectively help maximize who they are as individuals and who we can be as a team. Our coaches are experts at what they do. I'm not qualified to call every offensive play and every defensive front and every special team and coach every single fundamental of every position. That's why we've got assistant coaches and coordinators to do those jobs. And it's my job to help them be prepared to do that as well as possible, with equipping them with the things that they need, with the other people to surround them, the technology, the players, and to drive the culture of this program. And so that's what I try to do, and to keep everybody focused and drive the culture of excellence at Army football.
Yeah, and we have seen, like I said, an excellent season, and we see the wins off the field as well, things that you talk about on what Army West Point stands on beyond football. Bryson Daly, who very much impressed me this season, NCAA record for rushing touchdowns for a quarterback is now 32, thanks to what he's done this season. Rushed for 1,659 yards, and also has the program record at Army for touchdowns responsible for in a season with 41. Bryson Daly to you means blank. How do we fill in that blank?
Oh, I, I don't know where to begin. I mean, he's a tremendous leader. He's a great kid, tough as nails, has a really high standard for himself, for the way that he works and prepares and studies and lifts and trains and all of it. Just nobody had higher expectations or standards for him than he could set for himself. but that 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 just permeated the entire locker room in our team. His his commitment to excellence and his uh, the pride that our players, his teammates saw him take in his own preparation. I think that's infectious, and certainly had a great season, obviously. And Coach Worley, our offensive coordinator, did a tremendous job of putting him in position to make plays to help our team. And every one of those touchdowns was just designed to help our team be the best it could be, and for our team to to score touchdowns to win the football game. And he carried a big part of the load for us, but other guys did it too. We had the Joe Moore Award offensive line, which is the top offensive line in the country. Would have been really hard for him to score that many touchdowns without those guys. And
Yeah.
you know, the tight ends and the running backs and the receivers and all those guys that did the work blocking for him. And you know, a lot more quietly, we had a lot of other guys that scored touchdowns and made some really good plays for us throughout the season. And it's never one player, and that's something I think he recognizes and appreciates, and is quick to say when people heap praise on him, and the praise is worthy. He's deserved it and earned that. But there's a lot of other guys that went into that season for him, and so we're really proud of him. He certainly leaves some big shoes to fill, but uh, you know, I think that everybody on our team, regardless of what position they play, are going to carry that, you know, that record he set with them as a source of pride, and they should. It's a team accomplishment. And even the defense, you know, the defense keeping other teams off the field and giving our offense plenty of time to have the ball and to have opportunities, you know, that contributes to the touchdowns that we score and the touchdowns that he was able to score. So, you know, really proud of him and just the supporting cast that he had.
I'd be remiss in this final note, Coach, to not ask you about moving forward and just what you can say as you step forward into this 2025-26 season. You already made mention that the off-season regimen is not something of going through the motions. It's people pushing each other to get the best out of each other, and that you see what you do in preparation at Army West Point to be extremely competitive, and that's, you know, really anything up against it, you take that and what you do there very seriously every single bit and every step of the way. So just what you want to say about the move forward in closing.
Well, we're not going to have anybody or we're not going to have an influx of transfers from the portal after the spring. You know, we're going to go through spring practice with the guys we've got in workouts right now. We're going to go through summer training with our strength staff all summer long with the same guys. They're the guys that are going to come to preseason camp. They're the ones that are going to kick it off in August, and we're going to play the season with. So the investment that our guys make in the off season makes a big difference. So the work that they put in now, the investment they put into each other, into this brotherhood, that's what's gonna reap the harvest in the fall. And so that's what's exciting about our program. And every program at one time was built like that, recruiting players and developing them and growing them through the program. And that's what we do. And that's what I'm most excited about, is to watch these guys as we go through every step of the off season, as we get into spring practice, which is going to start at the end of this month. And as we go all the way through the summer months up to preseason camp, and then have that freshman class join us and have the 2025 football team set and ready to go. So I'm looking forward to the season. There's certainly a lot out there for us to accomplish, and some things that we'd like to do this season that we weren't able to accomplish in 2024. And so just looking forward to the opportunities to have a chance to do that.
Well, as always, Coach, like I said, from afar, I respected and appreciated and wanted to speak to you. And thanks to your graciousness as well as your staff I've had the opportunity to do that, and I would like to think it's only the beginning. So Jeff Monken here, Army Black Knights head football coach, thank you for the work that you do. Thank you for spending some time with me and let me see behind the curtain, so to speak, and to get a little bit closer to my grandfather who's up in heaven as well, and my great uncles. So I want to say thank you for that.
Thanks a lot. Be Navy.
Here's a message from Renee from Bryan's Landing, located on 6523 East Seneca Turnpike in Jamesville, New York. Open Tuesdays and Wednesdays for dinner, Thursday through Saturday for lunch and dinner, and Sundays for brunch.
It's a lot like the way that my mom and dad ran their restaurant. We have put in place a lot of people that are family to us, very similar to how my dad hired people that were family to him. And then the tradition I'm carrying on is a lot of the items that are on our menu are my dad's. And he taught our chefs how to recreate his dishes. So I think that Tommy McInerney, who our executive chef is, to him it is an art. And I think that when he does create a dish, it's not just about making the food taste delicious, which is definitely our priority, but it's an art to him, and it's almost like his canvas on a plate where he just wants the colors to look great, and people love it because he takes pride in that. And Bryan and I appreciate that. We want it to obviously look good and taste good. I will tell you, when we opened up, it was 6 weeks before COVID. And what was amazing was the community, our friends and family stepped up, and everybody did takeout. Everybody supported us. Our hearts were just so filled. So to Bryan and I, obviously our friends come all the time, and we just have repeat customers in Jamesville, and I think people going to our previous restaurant in Green Lakes are making the trip to come to Bryan's Landing to support us. And I mean, I think we have great food and a great atmosphere. So it's very, very important to us.
Head to Bryan's Landing, located on 6523 East Seneca Turnpike in Jamesville, New York, where memories have become recipes that are now meals to share with you. Tuesdays and Wednesdays for dinner, Thursday through Saturday for lunch and dinner, and on Sundays for brunch. And be sure to come out for live music Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Here is a special message from Brian Bruno, owner of Servomation Refreshments Incorporated.
I grew up in the family business, had the experience of working for a national food service company with thousands of employees, and as much as I enjoyed the experience I had, there's something about, owning my own company and being able to change the things I saw wrong with the industry firsthand, which is why I moved back to my hometown in Canastota, New York, to launch Servomation. It was back in 2007. When we first started the business in 2007, really you didn't find any machines with credit card readers. There was a lack of variety in machines. You got stuck with basically whatever the vending company wanted to sell that day. There's a lot of inefficiencies in the business, and those were all things that we saw as opportunities, both from a customer level to improve and from an operating level to be more efficient. We've really been at the forefront of introducing retail technology into our space. We were doing self-checkout back in 2009 before it really became a national phenomenon. The whole point of it isn't to just improve the customer experience. It's to make it feel more like a retail environment where people don't have to be afraid of what they're buying behind glass. They don't have to be afraid of not being able to see the ingredients of the packages. It was an easy transaction from that standpoint. If we were to reinvent something, we wanted to make sure what we were making looked and felt more like a deli and not like something that you would traditionally see in a vending machine. I was tired of hearing for years the customers say the wheel of death because the vending machine would circle around with the same tuna salad in it. What we wanted to do was it really change the perception of that food. So allowing customers to touch it, allowing customers to feel the weight of it, allow customers to see the freshness of it, and also the variety of it really helps them change the perception and ultimately the value of what we bring to them. The point of differentiation you have to make is either in value or the quality. And I think on both of those fronts, Servomation has really, in large part, changed that value system for employees. So they no longer have to worry about bringing their food from home or having to leave their desk during the day and rush out to get back in time for their break to end. We're bringing something that they can count on in their break room every day, and they know it's going to be there, they know it's going to be fresh, and they don't have to worry about it being sold out or something that they don't enjoy. We've also heavily invested in flavored water water machine, so you can get a glass of water with a fresh piece of fruit in it, along with bean to cup coffee machine. So there's not a day that goes by we're not surprised when we get customers that call us and say, we didn't know you could do all this. We're really lucky to have a strong group of dedicated employees. Most of our employees have been with us since inception. They're family to us, and people like doing business with people they like and trust. And I think the same thing goes for employees. In a day and an age where there's a lot of corporations that just look at an employee as a number and don't get to know them, that's just not the way I was raised or how I like to do business. So we're a little old-fashioned. We like getting close to our employees. We like knowing how we can help them. We like knowing how we can improve their lives, adjust their schedules, whatever it may be to help improve their quality of life. And we think in the end that makes for a happier employee. We're fortunate enough to have really grown over the last several years, and from Pennsylvania to Massachusetts to Connecticut, we really do have a strong connection, even though we're not in the rooms every day with these employees. There's not one single employee that we feel like we don't know, and certainly we know they can call us at any time, and they're definitely treated as family to us. I wake up every single day really excited to surprise our customers in a good way. The one thing I can tell you is I think that every one of our employees and every one of our customers will continue to be at the forefront of every decision we make.
Find out how Servomation can help you and your business by going to servomation.com. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets life. We are inside the Great Lakes Honda City studios. Great Lakes Honda City for you Monday through Saturday from on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard right there in Liverpool, New York. You can go online for more information of their new and used vehicles. Their vast array of different shapes and sizes for every single family can be found at GreatLakesHondaCity.com. And you know that here on the show I put my money where my mouth is and put my money where it should go when it comes to people that I trust. So Great Lakes Honda City has not only been with us for over a decade, but they've been supplying me with the vehicle that I trust to keep me safe for over a decade as well. With that being said, here inside the Bearcat Breakroom on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, we are here with Paul Caceres, the Binghamton Bearcats women's tennis head coach here inside the 2024-25 season. We spoke with Paul right after he was hired. He was hired in July of 2024, and we had him on the show in a Bearcat Breakroom to speak as to why he came to Binghamton, his journey, his road to get to where he is, what his thoughts were with the program and moving forward. And now we've gotten to see a few matches under his belt in this first season with him in Binghamton in the Southern Tier. So with that being said, Paul, how are you?
I'm good, Dan. Thanks for the invite back. It's always a pleasure to speak with you.
Yeah, it's been an honor, for me to be able to welcome you in and to have that. Feels like it happened forever ago. And in my head, I'm like, is it really just, going into this first season, so to speak? Because it feels like forever, and you think back like, oh no, like he's been there for a while, and I'm like, no, this is year one. So for you, has it felt like forever, July 2024, or did it just kind of fly by in your world because of some things we were talking about off the air about like when you kind of hit the ground, time just flies? I mean, what's the last, I should say, half a year and change been like for you?
Yeah, time has definitely flown by. It's been very busy, but it's been good so far. Everyone's been very supportive and said nice things about the program and the school. So I'm really happy to be here at Binghamton, and the spring season just got started here, so really looking forward to the first kind of main season. I know we played some fall invitational tournaments, but really looking forward to the upcoming dual matches we have on the schedule this spring.
Yeah, when we look at the overall record, it doesn't reflect those invitational tournaments. For those that don't know, to kind of just, take the cake of tennis, so to speak, and pull apart the layers here, why do these invitationals not count? One, and two, if they don't count towards your overall record, why are they so important for you to make sure that you have them?
Yeah, so the fall, even though it's not our main season, it's pretty important because the main purpose, the way I see it, is the fall season is to prepare us for the spring. So the spring is when we play all our head-to-head matches against other schools.
Yeah.
But the fall is a great opportunity to really prepare for the spring. Because once you're in the spring season, obviously you're practicing and you're getting ready for matches week in and week out. But the fall, you have some time to sort of figure out doubles lineups and kind of get to know your team. Obviously, me as a new head coach, getting to know everyone, but even for returning coaches, just their new recruits from that year, getting them acclimated to the rest of the team. So it's a great time to prepare. And as you mentioned, the fall invitationals and sometimes we play matches as well in the fall, really help to prepare for the main season in the spring.
So when you look back at those invitationals, like you said, being a new head coach for the Binghamton Bearcats women's tennis team, so these are your first experiences with the squad as their leader. You had the Bill and Sandra Moore Invitational in Annapolis, Maryland, which was hosted by Navy. You had in Canton, New York, hosted by St. Lawrence, the St. Lawrence Invitational. Then Binghamton played host to the NateRentals.com NEC Invitational, which was back September 20th to the 22nd. And then you did have a match against St. Francis. Then we had the ITA New England Regional, and that was all in 2024 in the fall before we jumped into the spring. So when we go back and look at those invitationals, plus that one match against St. Francis head-to-head, what did you learn about your team when you were in Annapolis, in Canton, at home, and then for the ITA out in Cambridge, Massachusetts?
So, we learned a lot, like I mentioned before. A lot of those invitationals had doubles as well as singles. So, trying different combinations, different pairings, got to see a lot of the team in action in both singles and doubles at those tournaments. So, it's a great learning experience for both the players and myself as a coach, getting to see them play in action. So, it was a great experience, at all those competitions that you mentioned, and especially against St. Francis, who's in our conference, wanted to play them in the fall to kind of feel them out, because we knew we were going to see them again this spring. So, each tournament that you mentioned is kind of unique and different, but at the end of the day, it's all about, like I said, learning the other schools, and then our own, internal kind of data between doubles and singles. It's great across the board.
And for you as a new head coach for this team, from the Bill and Sandra Moore Invitational, which was your first trip out with the team in Annapolis, Maryland, to the ITA New England Regional, which ended 2024 for you as the fall part of the season before you went into the spring. From that first one at Navy to the ITA in Cambridge, Massachusetts, what were identifiers, like notable things you saw, be it singles or be it doubles, from the first invitational to the last one that you had, because obviously after that you had time to sit back and watch film and look at everything. So from the first to the last before the new year, what did you take away from singles and doubles as far as specific things that you could really kind of pick apart and utilize in your coaching in the new year?
Well, from the first tournament at the Navy Invitational, what's great about the formatting of that is they break it up into different flights based on kind of level. And right off the bat, like with my team, I remember, we actually were still competing on the last day because one of my players, granted it was a lower flight, but still they made the finals of their respective flight. So, right off the bat, getting to see, some of the players advance to the later rounds right off the bat at Navy was great. On the last day, we just had one player make the final of their respective flight, but I was able to be there for the entire match to kind of coach her through that, which was great, because earlier in the earlier rounds you have multiple players playing at the same time on different courts. So obviously I'm one person, I can only be at one place at one time. Right. So kind of having to run around to the different courts, to see the players if they're playing at the same time. But at the Navy Invite, getting to see my player Val play in her final for the entire duration of that match was great. So that was kind of an encouraging takeaway right off the bat from that first tournament. And then at the NEC Invitational that we hosted, one of our doubles teams who played in the top flight actually finished in third overall in the entire A flight of that tournament. So that was a great accomplishment. And also one of the players on that team, again, struggling with chronic injuries, was forced to serve underhand during that. So even despite serving underhand, finishing third in the top flight, I think was a great accomplishment. And then fast forwarding all the way to the ITA regionals, very tough competition, the best of the best playing that from other schools. But one of my players had a win against Brown, a player from Brown, and Brown's a nationally ranked team. So again, granted, it was in a consolation. It was a consolation match, but still, great tennis, great win for her. So I was really happy to come away with a big win like that at the ITA regional tournament.
Yeah, and when you mention flight, because some people watching and listening haven't played tennis or don't know, a flight referring to a tournament in which players play against one another in a series of matches. So not necessarily single elimination, because there's more than one match. We can have at least 2 rounds in a flight and whatnot. Just to go a little bit deeper into, when you say flight, what you mean to somebody that's sitting here saying, Paul, I've been out for fun on a tennis court, and I'm just happy if I can get it over the net.
Yeah, so again, each tournament kind of does it differently, but just as an example, so like A flight would be the best players from each school. They're grouped in the A flight, then second best would be like B flight, C flight, and so on. So, they do that to kind of make the matches competitive, which I think is good, because, you don't want to have, like, let's just say an A flight player playing against a D type player. Then, the match is going to be lopsided. So they try and do their best to group players by level according to flight. So like I said, for example, there would be like an A flight, B flight, C flight, going up to sometimes like an E flight. So, it's just a way to keep the groupings of players together in terms of level. So I think, all the invitationals do a great job of organizing the draws and the players into the correct places of where they need to be and play. So yeah, I think it works out well in terms of level, and then how it plays out in terms of competitiveness.
Is it harder for them to do, say that they don't, maybe a new student athlete to a team comes in, it's the first invitational of the year, how do they gauge that? Like if they're looking at statistics and history and whatnot to kind of gauge who's an A flight, who's a B flight, who's C, and so on, if it's a new player,
right,
how do they determine where to put them?
That's a good question. So something new that actually they've just been doing recently, I think this might even be the first year. So the tournament organizers go by what's called a WTN, or World Tennis Number.
Okay.
And so even players who have never played a college match before, most of them have played junior tournaments. And so their results are kind of in the database. So they would still have typically a WTN for singles. Now, sometimes doubles, players, new recruits, like just incoming freshmen, sometimes don't have a lot of doubles results, because maybe the country that they're from, they don't offer a lot of doubles tournaments.
Right.
But for singles,
Yes.
Typically players have data in regards to their WTN. So that's how kind of the tournaments are figured out, based on a player's WTN.
So when we have that, and I want to just know, like a few years ago, one of my ex-girlfriends on Long Island, she and I and her sister played on a tennis court. I think I won the majority of them. Is there a way to get myself a WTN score? So, is there?
Yes, yes. Anyone can sign up
Okay.
For a world tennis number.
So you
And then
can get one, even if you're not like if you didn't play in high school and whatnot, because there's people that are like in their 30s and 40s, right? They still carry their number. So
Right. And also, so I know we're getting into the weeds now, and it might be a little confusing for your listeners, but also the USTA, the United States Tennis Association, has leagues and they have their own rating system, but now they're combining their like all their data from like USTA. They're also like combining it with the world tennis number. So for example, if you play USTA leagues, they work with the WTN. So everyone who plays leagues has a WTN as well that goes along with just league matches as well. So it's not just for, college players or tournament players, but anyone who plays tennis. If you play leagues now, it's WTN is being incorporated in there as well. So it's kind of all becoming uniform and standard across the board.
I feel like if I had an official there, I was almost undefeated. So what is a good WTN score? Like to where we're, to kind of just paint the picture for people here. I've spoken with individuals that are ranked in top 40 of a certain age group and whatnot, but a good WTN score would be what? And is it separated by age, or is there an overall? Like, do you have it like, okay, by age, this is the 10th best person from here to here, or do we just have this is your score in the world?
Yes, so it's not separated by age. It's
Okay.
This is your score, no matter whether you're a young player, older player. It's just one scale, and it's a little counterintuitive, but the better the player, the lower your WTN. So like the pros have really low WTNs, like it starts at very low numbers, and then it goes up from there. So the main takeaway from WTN is that the lower the number, the better the player, and so as you go up in number, the level kind of gets a little bit lower and lower. So you'll have rec players, who with they could have WTNs in the 30s, 40s, college players, in the 20s, pros, in the teens, single digits. So, it kind of is a scale, but the main takeaway, like I said, is the lower the number, the better the player.
So if everybody that plays, right, regardless of college, pro, if you're in a rec league and whatnot, and we will spin back to what's going on in the season, I promise. I just find this really interesting because I've had plenty of tennis conversations, but I've never had this one. And so I find it to be really cool and interesting. Can anyone have the same WTN, or is like there only one person that is ranked 10? How does that work? Is it like a handicap in golf, or is it like there's one person that has this number?
So there can be the same player with the same number, but actually the WTN is actually not a whole number. Like it's actually a decimal.
Okay.
A decimal rating as well. So you could have a WTN of like 22.2, 22.3, 22.8. So like there's, it's kind of, and you can have the same player, player A with a 22.3, player B with a 22.3, but it's not just one whole number. There's decimals involved. So, it's pretty specific, but yeah, and there's a separate WTN for singles, and then same player would have a different usually WTN for doubles. So typically you don't see a lot of exactly the same WTNs, but it could happen.
Will you share yours?
To be honest with you, I'd have to look it up. I don't know the exact decimal off the top of my head, but I could get back to you on that.
I can promise you that whatever yours is, add like 80 to mine, and that's pretty safe. Basketball, different story. But tennis, my rule in tennis is if I well, and I like doing, I mean, I like challenging my body. So if I see the ball goes over my head, and in a normal match you'd let it go out, I want to chase it down and then try and hit it with. I want to try and hit it with my racket over my head and send it over without even looking. Like I'm doing trick shots, I'm just having fun. But in the game in and of itself, as we get back to it here, this is your first season with Binghamton. You've had a few matches under your belt. You've had a bunch of invitationals.
Mm-hmm.
What have you learned about you as a coach, when it comes to your film study, when it comes to the way that you coach, the language that you use, how you talk to them as a group, as a team, how do you talk to them individually? What have you learned about you early on where you're kind of take a step back and say, okay, that worked. That's going to be workshopped a little bit. I'm going to come back to that. What are some things you've learned about you?
Well, I think you sort of answered the question within the question. So there's a lot of, you need to have a lot of flexibility and adaptability. Like you can have an idea of how you think something should go or how you should approach something. But then as things happen and you try different things, like you figure out like, oh, well, maybe, you could approach something differently the next time, or maybe you could, approach any situation differently the next time. And you're always trying to tweak things and adjust things. And, because at the end of the day, obviously you want your team to improve and you want to get better as the season goes on as a team, ideally get better. So you end the season a lot stronger than when you started the season. Right. But same thing as a coach, like you're always learning, you're always, figuring out, what works best, what maybe didn't work so well. There's always areas to improve, from a coaching standpoint as well. So just figuring out, those details, as you kind of go along and figure things out. So yeah, definitely learning every day and trying to improve from not only a tennis standpoint, but just, like you said, from a sort of management standpoint as well.
Yeah, and looking at the schedule as you learn and you grow here with Paul Caceres, the head coach of the Binghamton Bearcats women's tennis team in his first season with the team, 2024-25, here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora in our exclusive multimedia marketing partnership, this being a Bearcat Breakroom inside the Great Lakes Honda City Studios. I'm looking at the schedule right now, and we're going to get to the matches that we just had in the new year, but I'm loving the fact that at the time that we're talking here, you have a lot of home matches. You have 3 in a row. So you have Sunday, February 16th against Stonehill, which is in conference in the NEC. You have February 21st, a Friday against Ithaca. February 22nd, a Saturday against St. Bonnie's. And then you're on the road at Delaware State in Dover, Delaware. And then back at home for NJIT on a Sunday, March 2nd in Binghamton. And then you host Lemoyne, who you just went up against on the road after facing Marist, before you head on the road for a bunch of matches here and then back home for FDU. So just what you could say about that piece of it, that element of it, that here in the new year, we have seen you home once against St. Francis, and we're about to see you home for 4 out of the next 5 matches, which to me, I would imagine is huge for your team.
Yeah, so definitely it's great to play at home. We have a great facility here in Binghamton, and, we have people that come out to our matches and support us, which we're really happy and grateful for that. And so if anyone's listening right now and you want to come out and support us, we always appreciate anyone who comes out to watch our matches. I know the players feed off that energy from the crowd, and they really like the support. So yeah, it's great to play at home, and we're looking forward to all those home matches that you mentioned coming up.
And we have 3 that you've been in already here in the new year in this 2024-25 season. Face Lemoyne in Syracuse, just an hour north. We're home for St. Francis and on the road for RIT. I've known Jeff Lonzak for a while, the head coach of men's and women's tennis at Lemoyne. What was that match like for you? Because up until that point, and including the St. Francis match after, before we saw the first victory against RIT, the closest match that you played when it comes to the ones that are head-to-head with the school is that Lemoyne on January 31st. So what did you take away from going up to Syracuse?
So I definitely felt like we were in that match and had opportunities in that match. I do like the fact that we are going to be playing them again, as you mentioned, later on in the season at home. So I really like our chances for that match. And it was the first match of the season. As I mentioned, our team has been battling some injuries. So hopefully when we play them again, we'll be a little bit healthier. Obviously, we should be more prepared given that we've played them once already. So really looking forward to playing Lemoyne again at home. And, I think, as we sort of alluded to before, that definitely, we'll take a look at what happened in that match and be better prepared the next time we play them.
And then your first victory as the head coach for Binghamton University's women's tennis team came most recently to our conversation time here, and that's taking down RIT 6-1. First victory of the season and the historic first victory for you, Paul. Congratulations on it, first and foremost. And I know that for you as a coach, you're thinking about your student athletes, you're thinking about the program, you're thinking about what you want to build. And so I know that I look at that first historic win, and maybe you'll take a look at that after the season. Maybe you'll take a look at it, 20 years from now. But can you take a breath in the moment and say, I'm happy we got this. It feels good for me to be here and have this. I mean, can you enjoy that first match win?
I definitely am. It's always good to get that first win under your belt. So for sure, very happy about that. In terms of enjoying it, honestly, it's like I said before, it's always a lot going on. So sometimes it's hard to kind of have the time to sort of savor in those victories and really sit down to enjoy it. But yeah, I'm definitely happy we came away with the win, and hopefully there's many more to come. But like you said, probably I'll look back at it at a later time and really appreciate it a little bit more. But, definitely happy to get that win, but, on to the next one, and hopefully we can keep that going and not just, revel in it too much.
Looking at that first victory of the 2024-25 season, singles and doubles, for me, when I saw this victory for you, in my mind, obviously, is to spotlight your student athletes and to let you have an open floor to do so. So when you look at singles and doubles in that win over RIT, just to shout out some of your student athletes by name, things that you saw, moments you saw, because I'm looking statistically here in the studio, but I'd love for you to tell the story a little bit deeper than just simply the numbers.
Sure. So I appreciate that. It was actually a full team effort. As I mentioned before, we've been struggling with some injuries. So we knew going into this match that we weren't going to have certain players there. As I mentioned before, the players that did play, definitely stepped up. And, I told them, I said, even after the doubles, I said we might make some changes going into the singles portion of the match. So I said, for the players at the bottom of the lineup, I said, be ready to go, because, we might need you. And sure enough, that happened. So Lauren played doubles with a different partner because her normal partner was not there. So, and then after the doubles, it was decided for injury purposes to not have her play in the singles portion of it. So really grateful that Clara, who normally, plays lower in the lineup, she stepped up at the number 1 spot against a tough opponent. So we had Katerina play second singles. We had Samantha play third singles, Nydia played fourth singles, Kayla played fifth singles, and Julia played sixth singles. So at the bottom of my lineup, we had 2 freshmen in there to help us with that first victory. And, was really pleased right off the bat with the doubles. I think all the teams did a great job, especially, as I mentioned, Lauren and Nydia at second doubles, who don't typically play together against a good RIT second doubles team. So they really stepped up and helped us to get the sweep in the doubles. So that really, I think, helped us in terms of momentum and energy going into the singles, to come across with our first doubles win as a team. So everyone really stepped up across the board. So really happy for all the players.
Yeah, and just seeing what you did here in doubles, Binghamton sweeping that, winning all 3 of those matches, and then in singles, winning 5 out of 6. So just looking at by the numbers, and you mentioned a bunch of your student athletes here. You and I were talking off the air that you carry 9, and you've been going through injuries. So that 9 being even shorter and having, like you mentioned, some freshmen playing and having to step up. What have you seen of the team's resolve and how they've carried themselves this early on in the season to have less than 10 student athletes, and then when injuries come on, some chronic stuff comes on or somebody's out, that you've been able to, like you said, say, be ready, I might put you in, and then here we see against RIT most recently that what you've had to do with some adversity this season, they stepped up as student athletes individually, they stepped up in doubles, they stepped up as a team, and their response to adversity and things out of their control was a victory.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's never easy, and I think having had this sort of experience in our first couple of matches, to be honest, it was tough at the beginning, but I think now that it's happening a little bit more, they're becoming more used to it, and increasing in their resolve and their willingness to sort of embrace the unknown at times. So I think they're getting better in that for sure, and it's definitely a life lesson as well, because in life everything doesn't go always as planned. Things come up, situations arise, and you got to be able to adapt and deal with it. So I think it's a great learning experience for everyone actually, and they're doing a better job of it as we go through our season.
Yeah, and we're looking at this roster comprised of New Jersey, Uruguay, as well as Spain. Shout out to one of my family's home countries there. So we have New York, we have Mexico, as well as different parts of Garden City, New York, Schenectady, New York, Marlborough, New York, as well as Italy, another home of my family dating back to my heritage. And then we have Argentina and Spain once again. What is it like having that? And I'm going to be spoiled here a little bit and be a little bit selfish. So you have players from all over the world. You have players from inside of New York State, in the Northeast, and all around the globe. So what has that been like for you to experience that? Because it's not atypical of a tennis team in college to have overseas as well as in-state or around your area of recruitment when it comes to like a certain radius. So what is it like to kind of have all that together? And I'm also going to give a shout out to the fact that Italy and Spain are well represented on your staff.
It's actually a great thing, I think, that people are from all over different places. People get to learn about different cultures and different backgrounds of their teammates. And honestly, I think it actually brings everyone closer together. And I know over the winter break that some of the players actually met up with each other Some of the international players from other countries went to visit each other and spend some time with each other. So, that's great to see. And I really think it helps with team camaraderie and team bonding. And I think that everyone appreciates the fact that, everyone's not just from the same place, and they kind of get to experience the best of all worlds, so to speak.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. All here in upstate New York in Binghamton with this Bearcats women's tennis team. We're going to round it out with doing some rapid fire as we've done before. You get to have the first question, Paul. So what is your question for me? For those of you that have never seen rapid fire on Wake Up Call before, we can ask each other literally anything. There is no planning, so there is no preset answer, because that never happens on Wake Up Call. I don't allow it. So, Paul, what do you got for me?
So I want to know, who did you predict was going to win the Super Bowl last night?
I predicted, so I got 2 out of 3 things right in my prediction. So 2 out of the 3 were correct. I predicted the Eagles. I predicted the Chiefs would score 22. I did not predict right that the Eagles would have 40. I predicted 26. I thought the game would be closer, but weird score. I did predict that the Chiefs would have 22. And when people are wondering what I'm looking at, I'm looking right here. We did a bunch of prop bet things, as well as gave a score when I spoke with Papa Joe. So this is what I'm looking at in my studio. And so there's DT, which is me, and then Papa Joe. So he had 27-20. I had 26-22. So correct score for the Chiefs, correct team winning, but I did not have the correct score for the Eagles, because I did not think they were going to put 40 up. But yes, I did have that, and 26 is Saquon's number, so I guess it was fitting what I chose. My question back to you, Paul. Well, you asked me about the NFL's title game. Did you have a favorite commercial?
So because of the match, I actually did not get to watch the match. We were actually driving back, so I did not get to see it.
So you didn't get to see the game. So I guess I will change my answer here because of your drive back time. So my question would be, if you had to choose an NFL team of the 32, who do you ride with and why?
Well, I would have to say the Eagles, because I went to college in Philadelphia. I used to live in the area for a number of years, so I got to say the Eagles.
All right. Well, then congratulations. What's your final question for me?
My final question for you is, if you could move anywhere in the world, where would you want to move to, and why?
Good question. Very good question. I have lived in Florida, but that's always on my mind. I would say knee-jerk reaction, Florida or North Carolina, to be determined, because I'm visiting, God willing, soon, Italy. So we'll see how I feel about Italy. I hear nothing but good things. And apparently there's a region of Italy that has my same last name, so I may return to Italy to claim the rights to that area. But it's called Tortora, and there's a mountain, there's a museum. It's beautiful from the pictures I've seen. But I would probably say Italy or Spain, but I want to be there first. And I could see myself in a place I've been. I could see myself in Florida again. Or I know my big brother wants me down there, or North Carolina.
And when are you going to Italy?
Italy is within the next few months.
Okay.
So, yeah. So I'm trying to, finally, my dad and I made a promise to each other, so we're actually going to fulfill that promise and go to Italy. So,
well, I hope you enjoy. I don't think you will be disappointed.
Yeah, I've been told a lot of good things about Italy. Got some family members that have been back there a bunch. And shout out to PJ and MT that have been out there. So I very much look forward to it. Looking forward to the Coliseum and a lot of different things, the Spanish Steps. So looking forward to definitely getting to see it. It's going to be hard for me to not go to Spain while I'm over there. But Italy this trip, and then we'll see about Spain next trip.
Gotcha.
My question back to you is, if you had to spend a weekend, I've never asked this question before. If you had to spend a weekend sleeping on the grounds of Gettysburg in a tent, like on the field where the battle happened, so you can either sleep in Gettysburg, you can sleep in an abandoned asylum, or you can sleep in, let me think here, or you could sleep in right by Area 51. Where would you pick to sleep and why?
By Area 51 or in Area
Let's
51?
say in Area 51 to make it more fun.
I would say in Area 51 for sure.
Okay. Why?
Yeah. Because one, no one's probably ever been there before. And like I'm just so curious, like that has always been a fascination of mine, actually, is, what goes on in there, and it's so secretive. And so I would probably not sleep. I would just be up all night, like listening and trying to see what's going on there.
Yeah, well, I can say that this NFL title game, number 59, had a weird theme amongst businesses that are different, that so many of them had commercials about aliens. So just a little unique here why they chose aliens this year, why so many of them did it. And, I don't know if that's a play on everything that's been going on and people saying, what are these drones and all this stuff? I have no idea, but I will say it's if you grew up like me watching the X-Files, when people give you footage that's disturbing, you're like, yeah, I still can't watch. I've seen signs a bunch of times. I can't deal with that Mexican birthday party. And the kid says something in Spanish. And then he says, it sounds like he says, "Deck that A." And then he says, "It's outside." And then they look, this like camera just looks right at, zooms into this bush. And then this brown alien comes out. My leg literally just chilled when I said that. So disturbing. However, I would go to Area 51 if I was promised I wouldn't be shot at. I would absolutely go to Area 51 just to see what's. And I'd be like you. I'd be up all night. I'd probably dig a tunnel underground. So I'd be like, yeah, I'm going to come for a tour during the day, and then the night before that tour, I will have already dug underground. So now I'm telling them what I would do. But there's no way in heck that on the tour they're going to show me what's actually there. So I'd have to find my way underground. But now that I've said that, I'll figure out a different way to get in. But yeah, I think Area 51 is it's an interesting thing in there. We're getting rid of it and we're toning it down. They're not. No, Area 51, whatever is there that we don't know about is just moving, or it's underground. Whatever. I mean, it's not gone. That's all I know. Right. It's not going to go anywhere. So with that being said, we learned about our WTN. We also learned about Area 51 today. What other tennis conversation is going to teach you that? None of them. I can promise you that. Paul Caceres here, Bearcat Breakroom, with the Binghamton Bearcats women's tennis head coach inside the 2024-25 season, coming off of a historic victory for Paul and the first victory of the season for the team, 6-1 against RIT on the road. They will be home for a bunch of matches, and as Paul said, and I will echo, please make your way over to Binghamton University to support these incredible Bearcats as they embark on the remainder and the bulk of their 2024-25 season as we head into the spring. Paul, as always, it is my honor to have you on the show. Congratulations on the victory, and I look forward to your team getting healthier and finishing out this season with a lot of great things for us to talk about here again.
Thank you so much, Dan, and I really appreciate our conversation, and I hope to talk to you again in the future.
Sounds good. In these unique times, there are those in our community that give us a sense of normalcy and positivity. Pizza Man on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville has been here for you for over 35 years and is here now. Call 315-638-1234 or order online at pizzamanbville.com to bring those familiar tastes into your home. And remember to come see our monthly on-site broadcasts centered around the community and our Baldwinsville Bees. Pizza Man in Baldwinsville. Any way you slice it, They are always here for you. Looking for your next ride? Look no further than Great Lakes Honda City, located on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Serving our community for decades, their new and pre-owned vast array of vehicles are available to you Monday through Saturday on site. To search from home, shop at GreatLakesHondaCity.com. Call 315-365-5576 to set up an appointment. That's 315-365-5576 for Great Lakes Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Great cars, great people, Great Lakes.
All right, you need to come out here and get yourself the Brooklyn Pickle. I was talking about this with one of my buddies. I was like, yo, there's no better sandwich in the state of New York than the Brooklyn Pickle. And now that I found out that they're going down to North Carolina, we are taking over your taste buds everywhere you are, wherever you're going to be. You need to get yourself out to the Brooklyn Pickle. Pinehurst, you just realized that you found yourself the best sandwich shop that you're ever going to have. This is a glorious moment. It's a blessing to your community. You're welcome. Brooklyn in the house, baby. Go over to the Brooklyn Pickle. You already know what it is.
You heard the man. Head to Brooklyn Pickle Pinehurst on 1788 Old Morgantown Road in Southern Pines, North Carolina. Avicolli's, located on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, has been your trusted neighbor for decades. Located just steps from Liverpool High School, we're happy to have the Liverpool Warriors on-site, on-location broadcast at Avicolli's through Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora every single month, featuring student athletes, coaches, and administration throughout the year from Liverpool High School. Head out to Avicolli's today on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, open Tuesday through Sunday for lunch, dinner, and drinks. We'd love to see you out there, and of course you can call them at 315-622-5100 for takeout, delivery, and catering. That's 315-622-5100, and also find them on myavicollis.com. That's myavicollis.com. Having peace of mind when you're out of town that your furry-loving friend is safe and sound means taking them to Canine Campground, because we all know that when it comes to the love of our pets, it goes well beyond the call of duty to make sure they're safe and sound. Right, Lily? So take a ride to 242 Johnson Street in East Syracuse, New York, and see Canine Campground and where your dog will be staying, in the classic cabin, the executive cabin, the grand cabin, or of course the luxury cabin, because if you know Lily, you know she loves luxury. Now you don't have to wait to the last minute to find a family member or a friend that'll take your dog for a few days. Call Canine Campground at 315-299-4013. That's 315-299-4013. Their drop-off and pickup times are Monday through Sunday. Check K9campground.com for more information. That's the letter K, the number 9, and campground spelled with a K.com. K9campground.com.
When you're going out of town, bring your dog to Canine Campground.
Looking for your next ride? Look no further than Great Lakes Honda City, located on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Serving our community for decades, their new and pre-owned vast array of vehicles are available to you Monday through Saturday on site. To search from home, shop at GreatLakesHondaCity.com. Call 315-365-5576 to set up an appointment. That's 315-365-5576 for Great Lakes Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Great cars, great people, Great Lakes.
Call Carvel DeWitt, it's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. Creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or iced milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carvelite. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, carvalanche, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular or new Carvelite ice cream. Carvel DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant.
GG Cards and Breaks. Like, comment, subscribe.
GG Cards and Breaks coming to you on 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York. Provides for you your one-stop sports card and trading card shop right off of Teal Avenue. Open Tuesday through Saturday from 10 to 6 and on Sundays from 10 to 5. At GG Cards and Breaks, you are treated like you matter. When you walk through the door and you're there and you're a repeat guest that comes in at GG Cards and Breaks, remembering what you like, what you're looking for, what you found last time, the service is fantastic. The people are fantastic. It starts with Josh and Anthony, and it trickles through the entire team as you go there and look through their wonderful assortment of singles, graded cards, packs, boxes. You never know what you're going to find, from hockey, soccer, basketball, baseball, football, to Disney Lorcana, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Magic the Gathering, Pokemon, and more, including all the supplies that you need to protect your cards, travel with your cards safely, and showcase your cards at an event as well as at home, and to buy gifts for people that you love and care about. Head to GG Cards and Breaks today and experience the difference. If you've never collected cards before, today's a great day to start. And if you've collected all throughout your life, well, you just found your new headquarters for sports card and trading card collecting. GG Cards and Breaks, 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York, right off of Teal Ave. Open Tuesday through Saturday from 10 to 6 and on Sundays from 10 to 5. With that being said, here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life, it is time for us to get into the ingredients to success, proudly presented by the wonderful team at Avicolli's. Avicolli's located for you on 7839 Oswego Road in Liverpool, New York. Avicolli's now open 7 days a week. You'll find Avicolli's open for you Monday through Sunday, 7 days a week for lunch, dinner, and drinks. Of course, if you are going to be at their bar and you're going to grab a drink, drink responsibly for those of age. And of course, we appreciate everyone that goes over to the casual side, the pizza side, we call it, as well as the fine dining side. You could find all of the menu for Avicolli's by going to myavicollis.com. That's myavicollis.com. You can also order over the phone when it comes to takeout, delivery, and catering by calling 315-622-5100. That's 315-622-5100 for Avicolli's. Today's ingredients to success topic is the reality that a wonderful defense provides for your offense so many wonderful opportunities. We look at the fact that in the title game for this season, the title game number 59 of the NFL championship aka title game, aka that word that we can't say, the SB word, but for the title game for the Philadelphia Eagles and the Kansas City Chiefs, the Eagles winning 40-22. You got to give a lot of love, a lot of respect, and a lot of support to the fact that what they have done with this defense was absolutely incredible. They were not honored by getting the MVP of the NFL title game, but in my opinion, they should have gotten it. No disrespect whatsoever by any stretch of the imagination to Jalen Hurts. This defense provided so many early opportunities in the game to take care of the fact that Jalen Hurts and the offense were going to be on the field and that the offense was not going to have to run this score up against this Kansas City Chiefs team because the defense was taking care of business. This defense did so many great things, and I want to go back and I want to take a look at how this game broke down here because there were so many incredible moments by the defense. So I want to go all the way to the beginning of this game and take a look at how things shook out here. So the first drive of the game, the Eagles punted the ball away, then the Chiefs punted the ball away, and then the Eagles were able to get a touchdown. That touchdown came from Jalen Hurts going up the middle for a yard on the tush push, and then they forced the defense, forced Kansas City to punt for the second time in a row. Then the Philadelphia Eagles got an interception, or were intercepted by the Kansas City Chiefs, and that ended the first quarter. And so we look at that intercepted. It was a pass going toward A.J. Brown. Instead, it gets intercepted, and then the defense came onto the field after that Eagles interception thrown and forced another punt. So you look at the fact that in the first three possessions for Kansas City, the Philadelphia Eagles defense were forcing three punts on the first three drives of the game by the Kansas City Chiefs, including a drive that came from the Philadelphia Eagles throwing an interception. That interception being thrown by Jalen Hurts. And think about that. Points off of turnovers. That's how teams capitalize on you. That's how teams turn the tide. And that is the difference in a lot of games, in a lot of situations, is turning another team over and then capitalizing off of it. The Eagles did not allow that to happen. The Eagles defense forcing Kansas City to punt on their first three possessions, including their third possession, which was created by a Philadelphia Eagle blunder and a turnover. They did not allow the Chiefs to score off of that. Then they got a field goal. And then we watch the interception return for a touchdown by Cooper DeJean, and Cooper DeJean in this intercepting Pat Mahomes at the Kansas City 38 and returning it for a touchdown. After that Cooper DeJean interception and touchdown, they forced Kansas City to punt again, speaking of the Philadelphia Eagles defense. So when you go back and you look at this game and say the first three possessions, the Philadelphia Eagles forced Kansas City to punt all three times, including after Kansas City took the ball away from the Eagles on an interception. And then after that, you got an interception thrown by Pat Mahomes that the Philly defense returns for a touchdown. Then they force Kansas City to punt the ball again after scoring another touchdown on offense, and that's the end of the first half. So the first half ended with three straight punts by Kansas City, including the third possession ending in a punt, which came off of a turnover by Philadelphia. So the Eagles defense did not allow Kansas City to score off of that turnover, forced three punts in the first three drives by Kansas City, then intercepted Kansas City, returned it for a touchdown, and then forced a punt. So Kansas City ends their drives in the first half, punt, 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 interception, return for a touchdown, punt. Then they start off the second half, Kansas City does, by punting the ball away thanks to the Philadelphia defense. Then Philadelphia forces a turnover on downs, and then Kansas City's first touchdown comes after they're down 34-0 in this game. So first half, punt, 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 interception thrown by Pat Mahomes, returned by Cooper DeJean for a defensive touchdown, punt, and then start the second half with a punt and a turnover on downs before they score a touchdown in this game. Then they forced a fumble by Kansas City after the score was 37-6 Philadelphia. They forced a fumble by Kansas City, got a field goal after that fumble, and then Kansas City gets a couple touchdowns late in the game when the game was already over. So this Philadelphia defense, who did not get the MVP. No one on the defense got the MVP. I think the entire defense should have been awarded the MVP. So I wanted to go back through this and show the ingredients to success, because people talk about offense and they love the quarterback and Saquon Barkley and this and that. But Cooper DeJean, who was definitely mentioned going into the game, it was his birthday on February 9th. So his birthday, he gets an NFL title. He gets a ring on his birthday. Saquon Barkley gets a ring on his birthday. You add those two numbers up and you get 59, which was the number of this title game. It was SB 59. So huge to see what these players did and just kind of the uniqueness. And I can't take credit for adding their jersey numbers together and you get 59. I saw that by somebody else, as well as mentioning the fact that their birthdays both on February 9th in this title game and them getting a ring in this title game. And when you go back and you look at Jalen Hurts, he gets the MVP and obviously put a lot of work in, deserving of that. Saquon Barkley, he's an MVP to me no matter how many yards he got or didn't get, because of all the work that he's done to come back with the Giants and then move forward and become an Eagle this season and resurrected his career and got over 2,000 yards and was close to meeting Eric Dickerson, if not beating Eric Dickerson's record. So credit to him for all the work he put in for that, and God bless to Eric Dickerson and all of the great running backs that have come through the history of the NFL. But just looking back at this defense, when we're talking about the ingredients to success, the Eagles could not have the day that they had if not for their defense. Punt, punt, punt. Interception, return for a touchdown, punt. Those were the possessions by the Chiefs in the first half, thanks to the Eagles defense, who forced a punt by Kansas City coming right out of the break in the second half. Then they force another punt, then they force a turnover on downs, and then they force a fumble when they're up by 31. So this Kansas City defense, to me, ingredient to success of winning SB 59. A major ingredient of winning this. And what were those ingredients? Well, I'll break it down. The defensive line did a tremendous job getting to Pat Mahomes. The defensive line is an ingredient to success. Sacked Pat Mahomes 6 times for a total loss of 31 yards in the game. So massive play by the defensive line as an ingredient to success. 6 sacks in the game on Patty Mahomes, to only 2 sacks that were allowed by Philly's offensive line there. So Pat Mahomes sacked 6 times. That's an ingredient to success. That D-line wreaking havoc. And then their secondary with Cooper DeJean, who had that 38-yard interception return for a touchdown that I mentioned, and Zach Bond, who at the linebacker position had an interception in this game as well, leading to Pat Mahomes coming up with 2 interceptions in this game, sacked 6 times, and Pat Mahomes in this game fumbling the ball. So another thing worth noting here. So Philadelphia Eagles, they're the ingredients to success, because without the defense, I should say, ingredients to success, because without this defense, this team doesn't have the game that they're having. Pat Mahomes stays on the field longer, and who knows what could have happened if Pat Mahomes got just a little bit comfortable at any point in this game. Philly's defense made him uncomfortable for the entire game, and the score at the end of the game, to me, was a lot closer than this game was. The score is 40-22. It shows an 18-point victory for the Philadelphia Eagles, but this game was out of hand. It was 37-6 in the second half, and so this defense, to me, should be credited with something, and the least I could do is make them the topic today for the ingredients to success, because it wasn't just the defensive line, it wasn't just the linebacker core, it wasn't just the secondary, it was everyone that was making it a very difficult day for Pat Mahomes, difficult for things to be seen, difficult to have any type of clarity and consistency on offense. So credit to this absolutely wonderful play throughout by every piece of the unit when we talk about the defense for Philadelphia, honored as my ingredients to success for winning SB 59. And I want to go back here and take a look at, by the numbers, what happened in this game and what this defense was able to do when I talk about them wreaking havoc and these birds just flapping their wings and making it really difficult for Pat Mahomes to see anything on the field. Pat Mahomes ran 4 times for 25 yards. That's all he had on the ground. We know that he is a strong dual threat quarterback. We know that he can do things and create opportunities with his feet. They only allowed him 25 yards on 4 carries. It was 6.3 yards a carry. They did not allow a single rushing touchdown by the Kansas City Chiefs in this title game. They allowed Kareem Hunt 3 carries for 9 yards. They allowed Samaje Perine 1 carry for 8 yards. And they allowed Isaiah Pacheco 3 carries for 7 yards, totaling Kansas City 11 carries, 49 yards, no scores, comparative to their offense, which ran 45 times for 135 yards and a touchdown. They had less yards per carry, but they got more done on the ground. Philly's defense shutting down Kansas City's offensive rushing attack. And speaking of shutting down, now Xavier Worthy had those touchdowns late in the game when the game was already a wide margin. Not to take any credit away from his speed or his ability and agility and wherewithal and his hand-eye coordination. He did a great job in his rookie season. Overall, he had 8 catches in this game on 8 targets, 2 touchdowns, 157 yards. Travis Kelce had 6 targets, caught 4 of them for 39 yards. He was never a factor in the game. DeAndre Hopkins had a touchdown. One of his 2 catches a touchdown. He was targeted 5 times. They took him out of the game until late in the game when they were already up big. Juju Smith-Schuster was a non-factor, 2 catches for 16 yards, Hollywood Brown was a non-factor, targeted 6 times, caught 2 for 15 yards. Kareem Hunt and Isaiah Pacheco were non-factors out of the backfield, each caught a pass for 5 yards. So this Philadelphia defense, they found a way to make Travis Kelce a non-factor. They found a way to get to Pat Mahomes, because normally when you rush Pat Mahomes, he eludes the defenders, loses 20 yards, and then somehow gains 15. That's Pat Mahomes. They didn't let that happen in this game. They got to him often. They got to him consistently. They were able to figure him out. He wasn't able to get away from them. How he has eluded so many people with his feet and the way that he can just distort his body and get out of a lot of trouble. They did not let that happen in this game. So getting to Pat Mahomes, getting to the rushing attack, getting to Travis Kelce, getting to DeAndre Hopkins, getting to Hollywood Brown, getting to anyone and everyone in this game, outside of the fact that Xavier Worthy had a couple scores at the end, proves that the ingredients to success of this NFL championship has to go to the Philadelphia Eagles defense, who turned the tide in this game. To me, folks, it's clear. And like I said, I'm not going to take anything away from Jalen Hurts, and I'm not going to take anything away from anybody on offense and the work that they did. Saquon Barkley, 25 carries, 57 yards. 11 carries for Jalen Hurts, 72 yards, 6.5 yards a carry, a touchdown, 17 of 22, 221, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception for Jalen Hurts in this game. Devontae Smith had a touchdown. A.J. Brown had a touchdown. Jahan Dotson got involved early. 3 targets, 2 catches, 42 yards. Brown, 5 targets, 3 catches, 43 yards, including a touchdown. Devontae Smith, 5 targets, 4 catches, and a touchdown in the game. Saquon caught 6 passes out of the backfield, 40 yards on 7 targets. Dallas Goedert caught the 2 thrown his way for 27 yards. Quiet day for him, but still involved in the game. So I don't want to take anything away from the offense whatsoever, nor do I want to take anything away from Jake Elliott, who was 4 for 4 on field goals, 100% on the day. His longest field goal was 50 yards away. Dude just was booting it through. He was 4 for 4 on extra points. He had a perfect day with his golden toe. So I want to give him a lot of respect and credit for the work that he did. And the team, Philadelphia, only punted 2 times in the game. Those 2 punts averaged 48 yards per punt. So, you know, the play of everybody on Philadelphia should be commended. I just wanted to make this ingredients to success about the Philadelphia defense to let you know exactly what this game looked like by the numbers. And if you went and watched the game, even with Xavier Worthy, like I said, even with his touchdowns and even with 157 yards, and even with looking at the fact that DeAndre Hopkins got into the end zone, these things happened late. These things happen
when the team was down 34-0. This game was Hova in the third quarter. And this defense, if you take this defense away and you just pound for pound, remember when Kansas City goes pound for Buffalo. When Kansas City is going to go pound for pound really with anybody, you have to take the ball away. And I said if Buffalo could take the ball away from Kansas City in that AFC Championship game 2 times, I believe that they could win the game. They did it once. They scored off of that turnover. They didn't do it a second time. I think that they had, but there was a penalty and whatnot. So, and you look at just some of those fumbles and who has the ball and this, that, and the third. But when you look at the Philadelphia Eagles and you look at their defense, they turn Kansas City over. They force Kansas City to fumble. They force Kansas City to throw 2. They got 2 interceptions off of Pat Mahomes. They got multiple turnovers. They didn't get 1 turnover. They got multiple turnovers, and they took control of this game. Philadelphia, only like I said, they only punted twice in the entire game. They didn't look uncomfortable on offense, and they were given so many opportunities because of their defense. So I cannot understate enough how absolutely incredible Philadelphia's defense was in this game, an ingredient to success in rushing the quarterback, in shutting down the run, in getting to Pat Mahomes, not just rushing toward him, but actually getting to Pat Mahomes for 6 sacks, for what they did in the linebacker core for Bond getting an interception, for what they did in the secondary for DeJean getting an interception. Those guys knowing where to be, eyeing Pat Mahomes, studying him and identifying where the ball was going to go, trusting in their intuition and going to that place and taking the ball away. This Philadelphia Eagles defense, secondary, linebackers, defensive line, whether it was trying to stop the pass or trying to stop the run, they created havoc. And yes, Philly puts up 40 points in the game, and one of those is the defensive touchdown by Cooper DeJean, and there's 4 field goals in that. Philly's offense did some good things. But if you take if in the game we don't have 3 punts, an interception return for a touchdown and a punt, right? Let's say that Philly's defense wasn't doing their job, so in those first 3 possessions, one of those is a score. Now all of a sudden it's a different game. Now momentum can shift back and forth. Now Pat Mahomes feels a little bit good. Maybe Travis Kelce got into the end zone, and so they're starting to feel it, right? They never let Kansas City feel comfortable. They never let Kansas City get into a groove. They didn't allow it in the pass. They didn't allow it in the run. They didn't allow it at all. They did not allow they didn't allow the Kansas City Chiefs, the Eagles did not allow the Kansas City Chiefs to have a moment where it felt like this can be our game, this can be our time, this can be our moment. And for that reason, for everything that they did in getting after the ball in so many different ways, in just making good decisions and stopping people and actually getting to the legs of Pat Mahomes when he typically steps out of sack attempts, this Philadelphia Eagles defense, to me, are the ingredients to success, and together form the ingredients to success on the defensive line, the linebacker core, and the secondary, to be honored in this game, to be honored on this show, and to be reflected as, without a good defense, your offense can do a lot of things, but you got to be able to shut somebody down. Almost nobody shuts down Pat Mahomes in the Kansas City offense. Philadelphia figured out how to do it. They did it well. They remembered what it felt like 2 years ago for the guys that were returning on this team, and they didn't allow it to happen again. They didn't allow a close game that they blow by 3 points, 38-35. This time they came out, they scored, they defended, they protected, and they never, ever gave Kansas City any wrinkle of time where they could think this game can be ours and we can shift it in our direction. And for that, the Philadelphia Eagles defense, to me, are the ingredients to success of this championship game. We look to Jalen Hurts, we look to Saquon Barkley, we look to A.J. Brown, we look to Devontae Smith, we look to Dallas Goedert, we look to Jake Elliott, who I said was perfect on the day, 4 for 4 field goals, 4 for 4 extra points. But if you think that this game would have been the way that it is if this defense didn't do what it did, they shut down Kansas City in the first half. They shut out Kansas City in the first half. They didn't allow Kansas City to score after Jalen Hurts turned the ball over. This defense played a near perfect game. And you have to do that when you're playing Pat Mahomes, when you're playing Tom Brady of the past,
when you're playing a John Elway, a Steve Young, a Troy Aikman, a Dan Marino. You have to play a near perfect game. Brett Favre, Joe Montana, Roger Staubach. This time, Philadelphia's defense played a near perfect game, and that is why they are the ingredients to success. For everybody that thinks, I want to play on offense, I want to be on offense, defense is boring. No, defense wins championships. That's what they tell you, right? Offense sells tickets, defense wins championships. Well, you saw that this year, clear and present, defense helped to win this championship for the Philadelphia Eagles, and truly showed you that the sum of the parts is better than the individual. And there was not anybody on the field for Philadelphia that I think was a slouch in this game by any stretch of the imagination. And I do want to make sure that we honor everybody that was involved in this for the work that they did for the Philadelphia Eagles defense. I had mentioned some guys here. I want to make sure that I don't leave anybody out of this. So going back and looking at Philadelphia's performance defensively against the Kansas City Chiefs in SB 59, we look back at Zach Bond, who led the team with 7 total tackles. 3 of those were solo. He had a hit on Pat Mahomes, and he defended 1 pass. Josh Sweat had 6 total tackles, 2.5 sacks in the game, and 2 tackles for a loss. And then you look at Oren Burks, who had 5 total tackles, 3 solo. Milton Williams, 4 total tackles, 3 solo, 2 sacks, two tackles for a loss there. Cooper DeJean had 3 total tackles. All of those tackles were solo, and he also had a pass defended, and he had a defensive touchdown off of his interception. Quinion Mitchell, who the Jaguars could have drafted, 3 total tackles, all solo. C.J. Gardner-Johnson, 3 total tackles, 1 solo. Reed Blankenship, 3 total tackles, 1 solo. Jordan Davis, he had 2 tackles in the game, both solo, plus he had a sack in the game, and he had a tackle for a loss. Darius Slade Jr., 2 tackles solo. We have Moro Ajomo, who had 2 tackles, both solo, and 1 of them for a loss. We have Kenneth Gainwell, who in this game was able to get a couple tackles solo. We have Jalix Hunt, who had 2 tackles, 1 solo. He had a half a sack in the game. He also had a quarterback hit in the game. And we look to Brandon Graham, who people were wondering if he was going to play. He had 1 tackle, and that was solo. Rick Lovato had a tackle in the game. Shipley had a tackle in the game. Rookie running back from Clemson, who I covered there. God bless to him. Avonte Maddox in the game. He had a pass defended, and Isaiah Rodgers also had a pass defended. And then Nolan Smith Jr. had 2 hits on the quarterback, and Jalen Carter had 2 hits on the quarterback. The team ends the game, Philadelphia Eagles defense, with 48 total tackles, 30 of those solo, 6 sacks and those end up being tackles for a loss as well. 4 passes defended, 11 hits on the quarterback, and a defensive touchdown by Cooper DeJean. So congratulations to the Philadelphia Eagles in their championship win, their NFL title here in SB 15. I think I can say SB right if I don't say the word out. So NFL title 59. Congratulations to the Philadelphia Eagles defense. Our ingredients to success, giving a nod and a spotlight to the defense when so many people focus on the offense. And I don't want to take anything from offense and special teams. I just wanted to put a spotlight on the defense where I think it should be, and definitely for this game. Shout out to the Eagles, who flew so high in this game and never allowed the Chiefs to catch up with them. Philadelphia's defense, our ingredients to success, proudly presented by Avicolli's on 7839 Oswego Road in Liverpool, New York. Head to Avicolli's 7 days a week. Let them know that DT sent you to go and get their awesome food, their fantastic pizza, the grandma's pie, the margarita pizza, their veal, oh my, everything that they have, their tortellini, their salads, it's all, their soups, all at Avicolli's. Head over there today. You can go to myavicollis.com to order online. That's myavicollis.com. And, of course, for catering, takeout, and delivery, call 315-622-5787. 5100. That's 315-622-5100 for Avicolli's, celebrating the ingredients to success, this Philadelphia Eagles defense. With that being said, inside the Great Lakes Honda City Studios, thank you for hanging out with me here on Wake Up Call, up and down the East Coast, the Midwest, the West Coast, and all around the globe. YouTube.com/WakeUpCallDT, Facebook.com/WakeUpCallDT, and on WakeUpCallDT.podbean.com. Once the shows go live, they hop into the archive, and you can find us hanging out with Amazon Music, Audible, iHeartRadio, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts, Player FM, Podbean, Podchaser.com, Podvine, Spotify, TuneIn, and YouTube. All you have to do is search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, or one word, Wake Up Call DT. You can also support Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora by supporting our partners. You can go down to North Carolina, and if you're down in North Carolina watching and listening to the show, because we cover the ACC and we cover all those North Carolinian teams, you can go down to Southern Pines, North Carolina, right by Pinehurst Golf Courses, down the road, less than 10 minutes from Pinehurst Golf Courses. You will find a Brooklyn Pickle down there. We know in upstate and in central New York how great Brooklyn Pickle is. Now North Carolina is getting to know what it's like to have a true sandwich that's going to fill you up. A half is a whole, and a whole is two sandwiches, and you will find awesome food. Sandwiches, soups, salads, all at Brooklyn Pickle, 1788 Old Morganton Road in Southern Pines, North Carolina. Make sure you head there today. Let them know that DT sent you. You can also visit our team of partners in Central and Upstate New York. Great Lakes Honda City, our exclusive studio partner. Carvel DeWitt, the Wildcat Sports Pub, GG Cards and Breaks, Ma and Pa's, the snack capital of the world. Go there for Valentine's Day. So many great things to get your Valentine. Avicolli's, Canine Camp Dog Daycare, Mother's Cupboard, Canine Campground Dog Boarding, Chick-fil-A Cicero, Pizza Man, Servomation, reimagining, reinvigorating, and just totally, in my opinion, reinventing what it's like to have vending at your location, be it a school, a college, a university, a business, a rest stop, wherever, an airport. Servomation just totally changed the game for me when I toured their facilities and found out about their technology. I went into their kitchen and I saw how they put things together, what they have, the awesome variety of food that I didn't even think would ever be in a vending machine. Servomation does it differently. You hear Brian Bruno talk about it every morning broadcast here on Wake Up Call, and you can find out more about how Servomation can come serve you and your employees and your students and so on and so forth by going to servomation.com. That's SERVOMATION.com. Brian's Landing, and of course we are the exclusive multimedia marketing partner of your Lemoyne College Dolphins. It's Fins Up every single month on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Find your Dolphins during Dolphin Time, Wednesdays at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. You will find the Lemoyne College Dolphins telling their story to you. It's student athletes, coaches, administration, future Dolphins, and alumni hanging out with me. You will find all of our content with Lemoyne by going to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Click subscribe, hit the notification bell, and find our Lemoyne playlist. You'll also find the Dolphins on wakeupcalldt.com's homepage and underneath the exclusive partners tab. For more information, go to LemoyneDolphins.com and Fins Up. The Bryan and Stratton College Bobcats of Syracuse are exclusive multimedia marketing partners with Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Find the Bobcats every single month with student athletes, coaches, and administration telling their stories in their spotlight, which is referred to as simply the Bobcat Buzz. You'll find all of our content with the Bobcats of over 3 years by going to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Click subscribe, hit the notification bell, and find our BSC Syracuse playlist. The Bobcats are also on wakeupcalldt.com's homepage and underneath the exclusive partners tab. For more information, go to syracuse.bscbobcats.com and go Bobcats. The Binghamton University Bearcats are exclusive multimedia marketing partners with Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Find your Bearcats every single Tuesday, like today, during Bearcat Time with student athletes, coaches, and administration joining me throughout the year, like today with Paul Caceres celebrating his historic first victory as a head coach there for the Binghamton Bearcats women's tennis team. And they have plenty more to go and a lot of excitement to come this 2024-25 season, plus a lot of home matches coming up. So we look forward to seeing you at Binghamton University in the Southern Tier. So make sure that you go to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt to get all of our content with the Bearcats. Click subscribe, hit the notification bell, and find the Binghamton playlist. You'll also find the Bearcats by going to wakeupcalldt.com's homepage and underneath the exclusive partners tab. For more information, go to binghamtonbearcats.com and go Bearcats. With that being said, here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, I thank you for being a part of today's broadcast. I thank you for being here with me. And inside of MonPazPopcorn.com's What's Poppin', I want to thank Jeff Monken, not only for being a part of the show once again, but for giving me the amount of time that he does. I can't imagine that you see Army Black Knight conversations that are going on for almost an hour uninterrupted. So I want to thank Eric over at Army West Point. I want to thank everybody at Army West Point in the athletic communication department, the coaching staff, the student athletes, and of course, overall, the cadets that are protecting our freedoms around the world all the time. Big thanks to Jeff Monken, the head coach of the Army West Point Black Knights football program that just celebrated the most wins ever in a single season with 12 wins this season, including a bowl victory against Louisiana Tech down south. Many thanks to Paul Caceres for joining me in this edition of the Bearcat Breakroom in our exclusive multimedia marketing partnership with Binghamton University. And Paul Caceres, congratulations to him on his historic first win as a head coach with the Binghamton Bearcats women's tennis team, and to Binghamton Bearcats women's tennis for getting that victory on the road against RIT 6-1, doing a fantastic job sweeping doubles and almost sweeping singles. So much love and respect to the Bearcats and to their women's tennis team. And of course, in the ingredients to success, proudly presented by Avicolli's, shouting out the Philadelphia Eagles defense, which I think should have shared the MVP this year. No offense whatsoever to Jalen Hurts, just saying that this Philadelphia Eagles defense, if they didn't do what they did, Jalen wouldn't have as easy of a day as he had, meaning he was on the field more. Now, Jalen's still got to complete the ball. Jalen's still got to run well. Jalen's still got to make good decisions. But no matter what happened in this game, Philly's defense would not allow almost anything to happen until toward the end of the game, when the game was already a 31-point game in favor of the Philadelphia Eagles. So this defense, to me, absolutely showed that they should be MVPs as one defensive family, one defensive unit. So I wanted to honor them today in the ingredients to success. Thank you for obliging me with that. And of course, you could find us on Facebook at Wake Up Call DT, X at Call DT, Instagram at Wake Up Call _DT. A ton of awesome specials coming up, including tomorrow. We will sit down with Tracy Roman, and I will share that special to kick off the Lemoyne Dolphins softball season with their head coach, and in the Dolphin Dive. And in hour number 2, you are going to get a treat. Michael Strickland of the ACC, who puts together the ACC football schedule every single year for over a decade now, joins me to break down the schedule and to give us literally a look behind the curtain of the Atlantic Coast Conference and what goes into putting the schedule together. You do not want to miss a second with Michael Strickland, and that airs tomorrow as well. So with that being said, have a beautiful day. God is good. Pray to the Lord in his name and trust that he will answer your prayers and that he will look out for you always and guide you and guard you. His will over our want. I love you, God. Thank you for all that you do. In the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. From the Great Lakes Honda City Studios, I proudly say to you, God bless. No stress. Do your best.